Are you leading in the morning wheel? I sure am.
Wonder how long they were stuck in this stuff.
Cameron is aghast that you would play
He didn't
video
say
games.
that.
Play video games.
You don't know that's what he's gonna say.
So
Oh wait,
late at night while you're leading in the morning. What are y'all singing tomorrow?
do you want to know our set list?
I mean, or you could just not tell me what you're singing tomorrow.
Well, I'll tell you. Gosh. We're singing "House of the Lord." You know that's one. It's like it's pretty good. It's one of those that I think the older people like it. You know.
Which I don't remember how that one goes.
There's joy in the house of the Lord.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know worship music very well.
I don't think you like that one.
I'm not a huge fan of the worship genre.
Oh, well, I guess you're going to hell.
That one's gonna be a sound.
I guess you're going to hell. Is it sound now?
Just the way to. Oh well, I guess you're going to hell. It's all so the same. It feels so inbred to me.
Incel?
No, that's a different thing. You're thinking incest?
My gosh, no, I'm not.
Well, I said inbred, which is implying incest, and then you said incel.
Why would you think I'm thinking of incest?
Which is involuntary celibate, which is a different thing than inbred. Because incest and inbreeding go together. And you said a word that sounds like incest.
I'm confused why there's a thing to... Oh, look, wait, I need to go there.
Blaine. God. Worship music is not congruent with quality of spiritual health or maturity.
Do I have to kill this guy?
Neither is it a reflection upon the manifestation of the worshipfulness of your relationship with God.
I literally moved out of the way.
Run away from him.
Blaine,
run away from him.
Blaine, shush. I don't like that thing.
What I mean by whenever I say that was a lot of big words, just say you don't like sing.
Me no like sing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not generally. That is true. That I'm just not a huge like music person. Like I don't even listen to music like in the car. Even though, like, I mean, I like a good song as much as the next guy, but worship music, especially, the reason why I say that it feels inbred is I bet David wouldn't have called himself a dancer. Still danced. He also played a chord, and it pleased the Lord. Remember that story?
I'm confused.
Okay, well, he's too focused on the game to get my jokes. And I'm not saying that like music isn't a really important and meaningful way to express worship. Music is an incredibly meaningful and important way of expressing worship. Certainly not the only, and certainly not the most effective, and not the least effective.
Is it
I think
certainly
that
not the most effective? Like, certainly not.
You're saying that worshiping by singing is the most effective way to express worship.
No, but I don't.
That's what I mean whenever I say.
Can you say it's certainly not? I feel like it's like you can't say either. I don't like.
I would say biblically.
Okay.
A far more effective manifestation of worship to God, the God of justice and righteousness, is the establishment of justice and righteousness in a community before singing songs about justice and righteousness. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, I wouldn't say that singing songs about justice and righteousness are the most meaningful expression of worship, because I would say biblically the most meaningful expression of worship is the pursuit of the principles and ideals of God, both individually and communally. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah. I mean, it's. I don't. Yeah.
This is also a pretty subjective argument as well.
That's more of where I was thinking. It feels subjective.
And I'm not saying that it's not subjective by saying that it's not the most meaningful form of worship. I think that some people might experience the act of worship most by singing
Right.
songs. But I would say biblically, your mic is also not pointed at you anymore.
Sorry.
Thank you. I would say biblically, scripturally, to me, it looks like, according to the way that I interpret scripture, there are far more important ways that God puts forward first to be worshiping of who He is and what He represents than singing songs. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
But certainly singing, like the singing of songs, especially songs that are that strongly invoke. Hello.
How did it wake up? I didn't do anything.
I think that singing songs, especially songs that strongly invoke feelings of gratitude and humility, are certainly important ways to rectify our standing in front of God and to express values that God represents, both individually and communally. So singing songs is important and great, and some people might experience what it means to have a relationship with God most viscerally when singing those songs. That's not the case for me. I would say, personally speaking, the way that I experience relationship with God is experienced least when communally or individually singing music.
And that definitely
is completely subjective.
That is certainly
100% completely subjective. I don't want to delegitimize or devalue in any way. Like I said, I think it's a really important. That was a smart. Oh, never mind. I was going to compliment you on how cool that was that you still retained it, but now you lost it.
To go back to where, yeah.
I'm not trying to devalue or delegitimize in any way the act of
Sure.
Musical worship. But I think that especially in our contemporary evangelical culture, there is a lot of emphasis placed upon an emotional experiencing of a relationship with God on an individual level. There's a lot of emphasis placed there, and not a lot of emphasis placed upon manifesting the values and principles of God in a communal level. Which is why you get to places where church life and church community and church culture becomes very individually centric instead of communally centric. And so I think a lot of the ways that we do worship, especially worship music, contemporarily today, kind of is both is a manifestation of the incorrect ways that we manifest the kingdom of God in the communities that we have today.
Yeah,
And
no,
so I
understand that.
I become frustrated with the institution, especially going even further than that. Especially because the institution of worship music today is so overly consumerized, is so capitalistic, is so personality driven. That I mean, all the worship music industry is today is a replication of the modern capitalistic music industry for evangelical audiences, and it is just as predatory and just as exploitative and just as abusive to the people who are trapped in that system as
You did say not to. You started by saying, so "I'm certainly not trying to."
I'm not trying to delegitimize.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to delegitimize worship music, or people who experience a relationship with God most when worshiping musically. Hold on, I'm gonna pause my argument there. But that's an important thing. I'm not trying to delegitimize that.
No, yeah.
But I'm gonna re-clarify my statements that you might have misinterpreted after we experience this bit of story.
So now I'm misinterpreting. No, it's fine.
I'm just saying because you repeated back to me something that doesn't sound like what I was trying to communicate.
Right.
Anyways, like I was saying,
Anywho's.
I criticized very sharply the worship music industry, which is a replication of the secular music industry with all of its same predatory behavior and capitalistic exploitation, and so it is a
was supposed to bring us closer.
fundamentally it is a fundamentally anti-Christian institution.
Was supposed to bring us
Oh,
closer.
I just did the same thing. I'm sorry.
It's a fundamentally anti-Christian organization. Like musical artists do not own the rights to the works that they create. They do not see anywhere near a level of equitable return of the value
Yeah,
that they
it's very
generate for
capitalized
the
by-
corporations. That's right. That's what I mean whenever I say like predatory and exploitative in all the same ways that the secular music industry is.
Sure, yeah.
So
the big production companies that
And so the worship music industry not only is predatory and exploitative in all the same ways that the secular music
Not a
industry
bad
is,
view, huh, buddy?
but churches, like the number one
By now.
supporter of the system that is predatory and abusive towards artists within that system, the number one supporter of that system is the churches who actively work to increase the power of the corporations and companies that own the rights to the music that these artists produce. And so churches, instead of working to enfranchise and empower individual artists to retain the value that they create from the art that they generate, churches frequently work to enfranchise and empower the very systems that are working to exploit those artists. You see what I'm saying?
yeah, sure, yeah.
And so fundamentally, even though like some people, and I'm not trying to delegitimize that in any way. Some people experience their relationship with God most fully whenever through musical worship, and that's great and that's important. I think that you should do that. I think that it would be great for us to evaluate the kind of music that we sing and the way that we support the artists that we do in such a way that can work towards enfranchising and empowering those artists who work within those systems and dismantle the systems that are exploitative and predatory towards those musical artists. Because I'm not saying anything that.
Do you have any like like
I don't necessarily have
certain companies or
I don't necessarily
labels?
have specific examples, but I know enough of the industry.
I mean, I could possibly think of like I don't know, like
water.
with
Not without some help.
Bethel having its name on a lot of the songs, or like
Right.
Hillsong maybe, or just
And my point is, like, I don't necessarily need like a specific example to be able to demonstrate the fact that Bethel makes millions of dollars off of a track, and the artists who sing on that track make the smallest fraction of the amount of money that Bethel the institution makes off of the art that they generated. See what I'm saying?
yeah.
And so that's a system that exists within the secular music industry. And it's a system that exists exactly to the same level of predatory behavior and exploitative use. It exists in the same exact way in the secular music industry. And I would say that is fundamentally
Maybe the last corner of this
antithetical to the
galaxy
ideals of
escaped from the
Jesus.
Empire.
And
Could
so
have seen it too, BD.
I become frustrated. Like I said, I'm not trying to delegitimize in any way.
No, yeah, I understand this.
I do. I know that you do. I'm trying to reiterate because I'm going to get to a point where it's going to sound like I'm doing that.
Wait, you're
but-
not at that point yet?
But personally, I already don't really strongly experience my relationship with Jesus more fully through like musical worship than through other forms of worship. One. But also, I become immensely frustrated with the system, not just of like the music, the predatory and exploitative evangelical Christian music industry. I become frustrated with those systems, but the act of like worshiping, like y'all are gonna sing tomorrow morning songs that are licensed by these huge international mega corporations that own the rights to this music. And so in some way, our church is participating in behavior that I would say, whenever I say scripturally, whenever I say scripturally, the most, according to my interpretation of the Bible, the most meaningful fulfillment of our call to worship God is to dedicate ourselves to the manifestation of the principles and ideals of God in our community. If that is, according to my interpretation of the Bible, the most meaningful expression of worship, then the act of musical worship that we participate in on a regular basis, that has become, like in a lot of people's brains, it's become the most like on its face form of like worshiping God. That action, by participating in systems that are predatory and exploitative of artists and people all over the country, the church, the country, and the world, we are doing reverse worship. We're dedicating ourselves and enfranchising and empowering forces that are antithetical to the values and principles of God. And so all of that is in my brain every Sunday morning whenever we're singing how great, how great, how great is our God. Like, the greatness of God is
Can't open it.
the eradication and dismantling of systems that are oppressive and abusive and exploitative and predatory. And singing the words, how great, how great, how great is our God, means that money goes out of what I contribute to our group, what I contribute to our local church to be the manifestation of the principles of God in our community. That money goes from our church into the pockets of owners of industries that are predatory and exploitative and abusive and oppressive. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
There's also supposed to be a difference between corporate worship and personal worship. 100%. Absolutely.
Scanning, okay?
And like I said, I'm not. I don't think it is a not meaningful way to communally, corporately worship together. To come together in song, to remind ourselves and rededicate ourselves to the principles and ideals of God, of Jesus. But I think, according to my interpretations of Scripture, which at the end of the day, I hold very strongly, and I feel like I can defend very objectively, but are personal. And so some people may disagree with me on this. But according to my interpretations of Scripture, I think a far more meaningful manifestation of corporate worship is the communal dedication to the manifestation of the principles of God in our community, alongside verbal, musical, spiritual realignment and rededication to those principles and ideals. I don't think you can have one without the other, and I think that the evangelical church in America has been without a desire for the manifestation of the ideals of God in our communities for so long that for so many people, the words that they sing every Sunday morning have become not only hollow and meaningless for them, but antithetical to the principles that they espouse to represent themselves.
Jawas can't be far off.
Mr. Tumnus? What? I don't understand I guess because he sings that spooky song. Is that why you're referring to Mr. Tumnus? Will, I don't know if maybe you're just focused on the game.
I'm
I
paying
don't-
attention to you.
I don't care. I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, why are you paying attention to me? Will, I just don't want you to feel like I know that like worship is a huge part of what you've dedicated your life to.
No,
And I don't want you to feel like I'm trying to attack.
I definitely understand your argument, and
Yeah.
I don't like see anything you. I don't necessarily
Oh.
agree with the extent maybe of
Sure.
the
Seeds. Wonder where I can plant these.
dissatisfaction because of like the experiences and conversations I've had of like
Sure.
people's own experiences during worship, but in that like it's not always disingenuous or not that you said it was disingenuous. You whatever word.
Sure.
Just sometimes it isn't completely.
Easy, Neko.
Antithetical to the principles of God.
Yeah, and like sometimes worship, yeah, it's not you're not always completely intentional, or your mind's not always in the right place, or like sometimes it is just singing and it's not
Sure.
it's not the most efficient, or not most efficient, but the best way that we could be worshiping God in that moment. That could be prayer, or it could be if like actually doing something physical other than singing.
Sure.
But I definitely don't feel to the extent that you feel of the
Yeah. Exploitation and abuse.
yeah, which
Feel like strong words.
I mean, yeah, but also I mean
All set.
also that churches aren't doing anything to combat that, because I think some churches are, like at North it depends
are.
it depends how deep into that you want to get.
Sure.
Like at North recently we stopped not as a big statement or anything, not like to get back at people or any of that. We stopped singing Bethel and Hillsong music.
Sure.
And they are a big, and it wasn't as much for their musical exploitation as it was with what's going on with Hillsong right now.
Rampant sexual abuse in
Yeah,
Hillsong.
actually just
100%.
horrible stuff
Yeah.
that has happened, and the fact that they've used money to cover up a lot of that.
And the spiritual and financial exploitation that has happened at Bethel. 100%.
Right,
as well.
right. So with them being big proponents of that, we've stopped.
I feel like I need to warn you that your hair, you've adjusted your headphones in such a way that made your hair kind of like coiffy. I don't know if that was the look you were going for.
Wait, did it fix it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I didn't want you to like look at it back and be like, oh, why is my hair like
You
that?
let me look like that? Yeah.
Chloe says that thing that you were writing looks like Mr. Tumnus. That's why she brought up Mr. Tumnus. I guess his legs are kind of goat-like.
But anyway, yeah,
I think that's important. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I get the argument, but I don't think that churches are, not all churches at least, don't realize that, like, yeah, there's like a big problem with our culture as of late, and like,
Yeah.
Here we go.
I don't think nothing's being done about it. I think churches are realizing that and trying to do things about it, and that there are people that really care. Like you're obviously passionate about that, and there's other people as well who like care about changing a lot of the culture and like who we're worshiping, because there are times where we're not actually worshiping God, we're worshiping, I don't like, whatever it may
Identity.
be. Yeah, sure. Whatever it may be in that. I don't know. It could be so
Sure.
many things.
Sure.
But anyway, okay, it just fell to my desk.
100%. And like, see that, like, to me, more than a song that we sang on Sunday morning, that made me emotionally like experience my relationship with God more meaningfully. More than that, the knowledge that the community that I'm deciding to be a part of sees abuse in the world and is endeavoring to not be a part of that is to me like like that made me experience my relationship with God more than singing a song would. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that is a completely personal thing to me, but I would say that is a very legitimate, and I would argue scripturally is one of the more meaningful ways that we can manifest worship in our lives and in our communities.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, I agree.
Cameron, I don't know if you're still watching. You've also been a little silent. You chipped in a bit there earlier.
Yeah, Cameron, you're not allowed to not chip into this.
That's not what I'm saying. That's
what I'm saying.
If you're listening to this in the background, like Will, you also are somebody who has dedicated a huge part of your life, a huge part of your life to the to worshipfulness in community and individually and personally. And I don't want you to feel like I'm trying to delegitimize.
Yeah, Cameron, you can help me out a little bit.
The really important work that you're doing in the Christian community as well, because both of you guys are incredible at what you do, and certainly, I think, draw many people into understanding their relationship with God and experiencing their relationship with God in a more full and meaningful way on a weekly basis, and that is a huge amount of work that is of benefit to a big part of the Christian community, and it's way more than I have done or ever will do. So I don't want you to feel unappreciated by my criticisms of the institutions of evangelical worship.